sick. As many of you know, I'm a survivor of toxic exposure myself, and I built a personal injury firm that I couldn't find for my own family. I got involved in this case because my own story was on CNBC and it linked directly to my website. Someone saw my story, gave my name and phone number to Jamie Simic in Hawaii, who called me and said, I have been poisoned, can you help? What she didn't know at the time was that I was a government lawyer who represented the United States in civil claims. So not only was I a survivor, but I also had the exact experience necessary to bring a case against the Navy. So I flew over here, I met Jamie, she's online tonight, she'll say a few words in a minute. I met Mandy and then so many of you, and this has been a movement ever since. On our own side, we've been building a team because this quickly outgrew our little firm. And we met first Lyle Hosoda, we'll say a few words in a moment also. But he's our local counsel and local rock. He knows everyone there is to know. He knows the judge who's been assigned. He played at her wedding. He could not be a better partner and a kindred spirit. We brought on Jim Bear, who is a former JAG officer. He's currently a judge in the Marine Corps. And what a beautiful world we live in, that someone who's actually in military service can bring a claim against the United States. It's a beautiful thing. Most recently, we brought on Mark Lanier, who has the mass tort experience to bring this case over the finish line. Because while we weren't looking, this little case we had with Jamie Simic and Mandy Fine and Lou and others suddenly became a mass tort. We now represent over 800 people who are affected by the water contamination at Red Hill, and more every day. So Lanier is here and his team is here, and I'm going to turn this over to him for a few minutes. He's going to say a few words. Can I give a little agenda for tonight and the way it's going to go? How many of you were at the town hall or watched the town hall yesterday? Okay. It was outrageous. They said that they were there to listen, and they did not pass the mic to any affected person or to the local community. That is outrageous. Only the Navy would host an event to listen and then refuse to listen to anyone there. So what we are going to do tonight, this is a real town hall. We listen and we pass the mic to you to hear your stories. So we're going to start with Mark Lanier. Then we're going to hear from Dr. Zunin, who's going to talk about some of the people that he has seen in his clinic who are affected and the conditions that he's seen. And then we're going to turn the mic to you and hear about your experiences. And at the very end, we'll talk about how to bring a claim against the United States for those of you who aren't participating already. And I will be in this room until the very, very end to answer every single outstanding question. Can I speak now? Go ahead. Is this good? Can you hear me, Evan Bear?
Virtual can hear you loud and clear.
Are they still on? I want to introduce Dr. Zunin. My firm is called Just Well because my number one goal is that you get well. I want to say that again. My number one goal is that you get well. It's not that I get rich, it's that you get well. And one of the things we've done really early is try to find doctors who can help you, because heaven knows that Dr. E up there last night is not offering any help at all. So those of you who weren't there, Dr. E was the military doctor who's supposedly leading this new phantom clinic that is yet to be announced where it's going to be or who it's going to serve or what kind of providers are going to be there. That's the kind of promise that the military has been making all along. So we met Dr. Zunin, who already was treating some of our clients, and he has volunteered to treat more and more people who are affected by Red Hill. Of all the doctors I've been involved in this scene, he is the most knowledgeable about what has happened at Red Hill medically. And we're thankful to have him here tonight. He would be here in person, but he was diagnosed with COVID. And so he's appearing by Zoom instead, and we're thankful for the technology. So to Dr. Zunin, thank you.
Kristina, thank you so much for the invitation and the introduction. We're in different professions, but the vow we take is that our patients become just well. That's what we spend our lives doing. It's so interesting about Red Hill. We know that there's these tanks that can hold 250 million gallons of jet fuel 100 feet above the aquifer that have been leaking for decades into the aquifer. And so there's this big push right now to unpack the fuel, which is to get it out of the pipes, patch the pipes, and defuel, which is getting the fuel in a better place, a safer place. We're also seeing on the other side a lot of concerns about water security because there's so much jet fuel and ship fuel in the aquifer. We're putting our sweet water at risk on the south facing shore of Oahu, and combined with climate change, we're looking at more salination of the aquifer. Because of that, the head of the Board of Water Supply, Ernie Lau, an engineer, has stopped using the 3 main wells near the Red Hill well, so that those wells don't draw the jet fuel over. So there's a lot of we see a lot of the news cycle is taken up by defueling on one hand and by trying to preserve our sweet water on the other hand. But it's the health that gets left behind. It's the health, your health, that just seems to get squeezed out of the equation. We have seen many patients from Red Hill, and fortunately, we recently hired several new medical providers, so we do have the capacity to take as many people as we need to. But what we're seeing is a lot, serious effects, and the effects last a long time, and they change. So you'll see some people that are taking showers are having skin rashes. We have some people that are drinking the water and having gastrointestinal complaints or urinary complaints. But down the line, and we're also seeing actually new onset seizures, balance disorders, and a lot of problems affecting the central nervous system. The other thing that's really not talked about is the risk for cancers down the line from petroleum exposure, lymphomas, leukemias, so on. So really, we're talking about health 20 years from now, and what is that going to look like, and how can we monitor for that? One of the things that we're focusing on is looking for metabolites of the jet fuel in the blood and the urine. So while it can move through the system fairly quickly, we can still see after months. We have some people up to 2 years post exposure using specialty labs to look for the metabolites that have the evidence of the exposure. It's a big problem, and it's a problem that really is hard to manage when we see one primary care provider here and one specialist there. Most of the docs that are really taking care of the Red Hill victims practice integrative medicine. So we have kind of a whole patient multi-system approach to looking at the effects of the exposure. And at Mauna Kea, we have a team of about 50 people with 12 different departments, including neurology, sleep medicine, psychology, that try to take this whole. And when we talk about health, it's not just the physical effects. There's a complete disruption of our lives, especially men and women who are are serving in the military, who have served in the military, whose families are living in houses where we expect to have clean and safe water. It is such an incredible disruption. And it's not easy to move. If you find that you're in Red Hill and you have contamination, it's not always easy to find another place to go in Hawaii. So many have had to go to the mainland. But the health itself, the health effects themselves create so much fear about, are we going to be okay? Are our children going to be okay? Are our spouses going to be okay? And what about tomorrow? And what about 10 years from now? So there are psychological effects as well. It's a big problem, and it's a huge challenge to take care of. Ultimately, my own view is that there need to be resources for a Red Hill treatment center where all of this can come together, and services will be offered that would not normally be offered by a TRICARE or a general healthcare provider. I'm so sorry for those of you who've experienced health issues, the fear from those health issues and this disruption. We'll do what we can.
Thank you, Dr. Zunin. Okay, time to turn the mic to you guys. And I'm gonna come sit here because, and I'm gonna invite Lyle and Jim to come find seats in the circle. And if we want to move out actually a little bit, if everyone can move out a little bit so that other people can come in and be part of the conversation. Because this is very much, this is what you didn't get last night, right? And Evan on the screen, my intern, is going to turn it to gallery view so that we can see the gallery of the people who are online so that everyone can be represented. Jim's also going to text our intern to put it to gallery view. Well, right there, maybe. Come sit next to me. Okay. I want to give. Well, I'm going to close this out tonight because I want to make sure that we get to you guys. We're going to do what we've done before, which is go through really how this has affected your life and share a little bit as a group. Evan, as intern, is going to turn to gallery. Oh, Spencer's going to turn to gallery. Okay. So what I want to know, So I want to know, how has, and I probably need to pass around the mic. So how has this affected your life in terms of disruption? We're going to go through disruption, illness, and fear. So let's start with disruption. Yeah,
Aloha mai kako. Hello, everyone. I'm Keiki Oka'aina from Oahu. I'm child of the land from Oahu, old school era, born 1976 here on Oahu. All my family is here, hundreds of them. Even my parents, my elder parents. So being a 17-year Navy spouse actually brought me to who I am today, an advocate and fighting for my home, my birth home, Oahu and Hawaii. I'm thankful for the Navy for that, but also 7 years being stationed here on my birth island, 7 years silently on the Pearl City Peninsula. Yeah, we got it. And everywhere the Navy water pipes exist, locally, joint base, and military side, 18 military housing homes. Well, not Kapalina, we never been there, but just saying. So how does this affect me? Well, it affects me in many ways because I'm from this island, so I feel it from my home island. I'm worried for what we're all going through. I'm worried that my elder parents and my siblings, my nephews, my nieces, my aunties, my uncles, my hundreds of cousins, my island friends I've grown up with since little into high school, college, everything is going to be feeling what we're going to be feeling. That's my fear with this. I had bragged to military friends, everything, how pure our island water was for decades. And it sucked to know that for those decades, it probably wasn't. So how is this disrupting me? Well, let's start from now, present. I'm still 100%, we're still on Pearl City Peninsula. And I've done a lot for my community for the past years, neighborhood watch, everything. And how has this disrupted me and my family? We're 100% not touching the tap water. I don't trust the Navy tap water, the pipes, the sprinklers, because that has all affected me everywhere on my home island. And so we're living 100% on water bottles. I had to get ready on water bottles. I broke down. It's rare for me to cry because I'm very strong. I broke down today and I videoed myself on social media, no shame in my game, to show my ohana, this island, all our military friends, everyone, what I'm dealing with, and it sucks. And to see my youngest son, my teenager, he's annoyed by it, going to work, going to school for it, getting ready in water bottles. Even my husband, who retired last year, 22 years in the Navy, he's just going, he's going with the flow, me too. But guys, I'm worried about my husband. Well, he's mind over matter. He's not really worried. So I'm not worried for him that much. But my two sons, I am, mostly my youngest son, because I have seen the effect affecting him the past 6 years since we've been back home, August 2015. And every single month he was missing school. And there were 2 Navy doctors on Makalapa, Pearl Harbor, that actually said environmental toxins to both me and my son, and a tripler specialist in 2019 that said this is an environmental toxin, and test, mom. And I've known about the Red Hill spills going on, but I didn't understand. I thought it was on Pearl Harbor since 2014. I was like, how is that affecting my island aquifer? I'm like, where is the island aquifer? You know, we don't know this kind of stuff growing up on the island. So a lot is affecting me, guys. I'm worried about our future, but I am trying my best to go back because I slipped a little bit. 100% eating healthy, more antioxidants, sweating it out, showering in water bottles, trying my best to stay away from all the Navy water line, the grass, the soil, everything. And that's where I stand right now, and this shit sucks.
All right. How has this disrupted your life? And people online, you can also speak up. We can actually make that happen too. So if you want to raise your hand, I know Nastasha wants to say a few words later about health, and we'll get there soon. But is there anyone who wants to talk about how this has disrupted your life?
Hi, my name is Phoebe Briggs. I am a resident of Capilina still. I moved here in 2020, right in the beginning stages of COVID. So this has affected us, my family, really, really bad. I came here single mom with my 4 children. I have since, with all this, everything up to date, I've blamed it on COVID. I've blamed it on, I'm 51. I've blamed it on so many things. And finally did get the metals test to kind of confirm and say, okay, all these things are starting to have a reason and a cause. And that was one of those bittersweet moments of, wow, you're poisoned and you're not crazy. And I did, for a long time, I thought I was crazy. I did end up losing my job for treatment of my skin and my health. I already had a pre-existing condition, and it up and down and up and down. I was at risk of blood clots. So the bad part of it is we're still in it. Right now, we're to the point we can notice when the water's bad and when it's good. And today was a bad day in the shower, just slick as could be. And big point of washing my porch. It'll just roll right off the porch. So it's strange to know that it's still there, but it's like some days it's good. But with that, my mom took my kid to Colorado for the summer, and they came back for school. And right away they started having blistering. This just this last August. blistering on their head. My daughter has intestinal issues. So my family is all now back in Colorado and I'm here. So it's been an ongoing thing even now. And I know we had some meetings before and everybody was kind of like strong and ready to fight and looking good. I just thought, whoa, I felt left behind, not by the team, just by my own care. And I did get with Dr. Zunin and getting multiple care there, and it's been tremendous help. I really like their team. One thing I didn't know until just recently is I went to complete bottled water. I did the jugs and let the Navy refill them and washed my kids with that and the Epsom salts and all that. Now with my metals test came a high BPA. So we've had to take all plastics out of our home. And I was just like, really? So this is where, be aware of that because we just trusted the water they were handing out was good too. And now we have to check the tank for the cool water and the bottled water to make sure it's even built with BPA-free plastics. And so that was a new thing even now to just be aware of. So.
Okay, Larissa online wants to say how this has disrupted her life.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Spencer's like a DJ. Give us 1 second.
Okay,
He's turning it up.
perfect. All right, can you all hear me now?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so I put a picture of me here because I am currently a mom who looks awful and sick from having my daughter just admitted to the hospital yet again. We're a year out now. We've been on mainland for, I want to say 7 months now. Well, our daddy is still in Hawaii, and it's been really hard on us emotionally and now physically still. My daughter's lungs are definitely affected, and we cannot find care here in Houston. It has been horrible trying to find care. We just cannot get into anybody. Wait lists are a year out for anything. We finally found a pediatrician, almost 7 months out. She was supposed to see her tomorrow, but we got pushed back to Monday. So it's just like a never ending cycle. Even when we get to mainland, we can't find care, and looks like we're going cross-eyed and growing another eyeball on our head when we go to a doctor's office and we mention that we were affected by jet fuel. They think we're absolutely insane. So it's not ending even coming to mainland. We go to a hospital and it's like we're flagged in the system. I can't get into a room. They put us into triage for 9 hours, send us an inhaler and push us on our way. So we're still being affected by it, even not being in Hawaii. I'm sure you guys have, we joke around that I'm a poster child on some of the posters. I'm sure you guys have seen my face on some of the posters with my eyes looking all crazy, but I still get that. I have EpiPens because I'll get flare-ups. Anything changes on hormones, if I'm around bleach or any like harsh chemicals, I will have a full reaction where my throat will start closing up again. And then no one can give me a straight answer. My son has birth defects, so we're hopefully getting some of those things fixed here. He has an appointment in January. It's taken us that long to get him into somebody. He has heart murmurs. He was born on the water. I was pregnant there as well. Just a long list of health problems, and we're still struggling to find help, and I know we're not the only ones in this boat. So this is a part where I get emotional. I just want to say thank you to everybody that's sitting in a chair there right now. What you're doing isn't easy. You have cheerleaders across the globe right now, and we're all thanking you for the people who don't have a voice, especially for the kids. They didn't pick this. We didn't pick this either. This is the Navy's picking for us. This is our life path now. And from my children and myself, my whole family, I just wanted to say thank you for the last bit of my little talking. So thank you to each and every one of you. My love and my blessings and my strength goes to each and one of you. Thank you.
You're a warrior, Mama. We're with you.
Thank you.
Um,
It's been a
well,
hard few days watching my daughter get two.
Jamie, how has this disrupted your life?
It's been horrible.
Okay, we have someone online, Kat McClanahan has raised her hand, I think, to share.
Okay, great. I just asked Jamie for now. She's on
Jamie,
mute?
let's get you unmuted.
Hi, everyone. Aloha, ohana. And yes, I would call everybody in the room and on this live family. We were all brought together through unprecedented times, expected to live out a B horror movie with a horrible script and Jumanji levels that don't end, all the while being gaslit medically, professionally, and in our own homes and personal lives to believe that what we're seeing, hearing, or seeing, smelling, tasting, feeling is not real. I'm the squeaky wheel, Jamie Simic, or also been labeled the crazy one for speaking up first, along with the warrior that won't stand down. I'm a mom to 2 little warriors and also was a proud military spouse while my husband was active duty for 16 years. Never once did I expect to be sitting in the situation that I'm in, let alone a year later. I stood arm in arm with Kristina a year ago, and this amazing legal team has been brought together. Our original fight and words were no more Exhibit A's. Since that first Zoom, we're now here standing a year later, and I am still fighting and advocating for just the basic medical care for me and my family, as well as for everybody else on the island. I'll never forget laying in my hospital bed in December last year, telling them that I know if you diagnose me, you'll have to diagnose everybody. The pressure that I received at that time to stand down was enormous. I knew what I was walking into. I kind of knew. I kind of knew what I was walking into. I saw it unfold previously. That's why I tried to stay anonymous. I can't be more proud of the legal team that has come together between Lyle, Jim, and Mr. Lanier now coming on, and Kristina, the pit bull I call her. I love it. She doesn't stop. Mighty but small. And if it wasn't for their backing and their digging and continuous support, my family and I would have been buried. We have been destroyed financially. We have been destroyed emotionally. Our family has been torn apart, and we have also been destroyed medically. It's 365 days later, and I keep turning my screen off because the tumor in my ovary is giving me severe problems. We had another OB appointment tomorrow. We'll see. I don't have high hopes. I don't get my hopes up anymore. My son couldn't walk properly last night. Neither could I. We were all having tremors. My son has a heart monitor now. And I don't have a PCM. I don't have a cardiologist. I'm supposed to be on 2 different types of heart medication and never seen a cardiologist in the past 2 years. I don't even have a PCM to fill the medication. Nobody wants to come near me or my children.
We've been diagnosed with hydrocarbon toxicity, and then the care starts, and then all of a sudden it stops. And somehow, some way, they then start to try to remove diagnoses. So the battle continues off island. I'll stand here until my last breath, or until I can't stand anymore, and continue to ask for the same 4 things that we asked from the very beginning, which is truth. Without the truth, we can't get better. If we don't know exactly what was in the water, how much was in the water, and the levels of the contaminants, as well as how many spills happened in those subsequent reports to the EPA, the DAOH, and other reporting agencies, if we don't get to see those reports, how are we supposed to know what's going on? And how are we supposed to know to stay away from said chemicals in the future and to get ourselves well and stay well? This is important to me, especially since March 2022, Kristina Jedro ran an article stating from the Navy that they felt like they did not need to disclose any previous Red Hill or spills. As we're now learning, that knowledge is very important. We were told last year no PFAs, and it's now coming out that there was PFAs. The transparency ties right in with that. The continuum of medical care. As you guys know, on the island, it's very tough to get treated and cared for. We didn't do this to ourselves, and so we should not have to fight like this. And then for the safety, we should not be fearful of turning on our water to take a shower or to cook food for our children. We should not be fearful to do the basic necessities. This is not just an issue of the water, it's the vapors in the soil. Everything that these contaminants have touched has poisoned not only the island or the land and the sea and the fish, but it's poisoned us. When is enough enough, and when will we get the truth and stop making exhibit A's? Because it's not any easier fighting off island. And for the continuum of medical care, when are they going to report to the CDC and the DOH across the nation of this spill and the consequences? So those of us that are off island can go get care and openly discuss. We should not be fearful to discuss with our providers that we were poisoned. We should not be fearful to discuss the symptoms. I should be able to go in and say, I was exposed to I'm having these symptoms. Help. How can we figure it out together? But that's not how it is. I have a binder of diagnoses, but I can't talk about it. And I'm already flagged in the system. My grandmother wanted to take me to the hospital last night. But she was afraid to take me because she saw how I was treated after the car accident, and my neck is still broken. I can't even get to a surgeon for my neck because I am so stopped medically. When is enough?
I want to say a word about Jamie. So in the very beginning, people were very scared to say anything because of the retaliation, because of what was going on, because the Navy was saying that there was going to be no long-term health effects. And Jamie stood up from her hospital bed and called the media into Tripler and shouted from the rooftops about what was happening and didn't trust anyone on the mainland. So called me to come over. And I just really, there are a few people in this room who understand the force that is Jamie Simic, and I'm honored to represent her. And,
Oh God.
and I just really, Jamie, you are a force and have strength that knows no bounds. And she's going through a lot right now, and I'm one of the few who probably is privy to all of that. And to see you be a warrior is really special. So thank you for fighting for yourself and for all of us. Without you, we would not be here. And I truly believe that there wouldn't be a case. Because we came a year ago, we were the only ones really who believed that anything was wrong. And all the other lawyers were kind of like, we went and talked to a lot of other lawyers and they were like, no long-term harm. But because Jamie found someone who's a survivor herself, you guys got a different experience. So thank you, Jamie. I'm going to take someone from the room. I'm going to switch to illness now. We've talked a lot about the disruption of life. Let's talk about how this has made us sick.
So I'm going to talk about the disruption. You want to tell them how you spent your morning? Got her up at 4 a.m., got her ready by 5. We had to be at the hospital to get blood testing. This is the 5th time.
We've been there.
Second time we've been to that hospital, 5th blood test. Last month, she was diagnosed with a rare blood disorder. It's called acquired platelet storage pool disorder or defect. It's most likely a lifetime disability that she has to live with. Part of it, here's your fancy bag. We've got all her medical stuff in here. So she'll bleed. It won't stop. We can't get it to stop. It's been going on since we moved into military housing. And it is so graphic and so extreme that it'll explode out of her face and it'll gush for sometimes over an hour at a time.
Yeah, for an hour. Last time we drank the water, it was over an hour.
So that's an illness. They're like, oh, no long-term effects. This is a disability now that we have to manage for her. So it involves medication, also special steps if she needs to go to the dentist because she could bleed out because we can't stop it. There's nothing we can do. And when we looked up the disorder, it's so rare that our hematologist is like, I don't have a lot of information on this. So we're just gonna have to see how this plays out. Same thing. Yeah, you can actually, you can see the needle marks from today.
So I've told a lot of the kids that I like representing the kids more than the parents. So I get to be the lawyer for the kids too. So if there are any kids who want to ask me any questions, I would love to hop online and talk to them. And I know Lyle would too. So I want to turn it over to Kat. I think she had something to say. And then I know Nastasha has something to say as well. So let's start with Kat. I'm referring to Kat McClanahan.
Hi. So
Thank you.
we just got power back on. Sorry, y'all. Can y'all hear me?
We've got you.
Okay. This is Kat. I know many of you, and apologies for the odd lighting. I have moved to North Louisiana. We just had some tornadoes come through, not on us, thankfully, but knocked our power out tonight. But I just want to say, first of all, thank you to the legal team. This was a first for my family and myself. We've never been in a situation like this. My husband was at the end of his military career, 27 years. So for those of you who are in the audience and are just unsure of a lot of things, I want to say this, and I don't say it lightly, but I've told Jamie this. I met Jamie via phone and FaceTime more than I've met her, ever met her in person. But I watched when Jamie's interview was first aired in Hawaii, and I thought how thankful I felt that our symptoms weren't as severe. And a year later, our symptoms are severe. And so it shouldn't have been left to our families to figure out what that shaky feeling was, what that pain in the back of our head was, why we felt like suddenly everything was super motion sick to us. Those were symptoms that were neurologic. And so what I want to encourage anybody there that is having any symptoms of headaches, of anything that feels unusual that you know is not yourself. Since moving onto the bases and into the Navy waterline, is to continue pushing for doctors to find answers. I got to a place where I couldn't drive. My balance and my vestibular system, my eyes were so bad. My husband was desperately driving me to doctor after doctor. And I am thankful. I don't try to promote legal or doctors, except that in this case, it is important to find doctors who will look at the whole picture. So I want to just encourage anybody that's out there to find, there are the Dr. Zunins out there. I've been thankful that he looked at not just the fact that my husband said she's been really nauseated and been feeling shaky. He looked at all the symptoms and looked at me as a whole. And it was alarming by the time I got to him. So I just want to encourage any of you to keep pushing for answers medically. I know it is unending. It just feels never ending for many of us. So hang in there, ask questions. And this is the time, Kristina will talk to you about the fact that our families cannot wait 20 years to find out and then come back and try to hold the Navy accountable. That's just not legally going to be our option right now. So I want to encourage you, if you want to protect your kids, our boys have seemingly, they're older, they were older teens and very, very big boys. They've seemingly recovered, but even our freshman in college has told me he no longer has bloody noses since being on the mainland now for 4 months. And that's alarming because it makes you just wonder what was going on before that. So hang in there, ask questions, and I encourage you to get protection for your family medically. Our family, like many, we have exhausted, we've spent tens of thousands of dollars in medical copays because we're not actually considered military. We're actually considered civilian because my husband's a full-time Air Force reservist. So our copays for all of the neurologic testing, the tremors, the doctors did not struggle to see my symptoms. I know some of you struggle, but just hang in there. Keep asking questions, keep pushing, and keep going to doctor after doctor until you can get an answer. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Kat. What she's referring to legally is there's actually a deadline, which is December of 2023. That's the date by which you need to bring a claim. If you wait, then you're not going to have a claim because the statute of limitations will have run. So a lot of you are seeing these commercials from Camp Lejeune, and it looks like you can wait until you have cancer and then you're going to be fine. You can bring a claim. They had to create separate legislation for Camp Lejeune because their claims were barred by the statute of limitations. So because you know that you have a claim right now, that means that you have to bring it by December of 2023. Listen, I have enough claims. I don't need any more. I've got a lot of work to do. The reason that we come back again and again is because what keeps me up at night is the 92,000 people that we don't represent. Do they know they have a claim? And I can't go door to door because of, I don't think I can, maybe we can, we're not sure legally whether we're ethically allowed to do that. But you can. So if you feel like your neighbors need to know that they have a claim, please tell them because they're not going to get to bring it later. And we'll talk more later about what it means to bring a claim. And it's not that hard, and you will not face retaliation unless you're like Andy and get in the Navy's face with a big sign that says you killed my children. Then you'll face some retaliation. But if you don't do that, you will not face retaliation. This is your right to bring a claim, and we'll talk about that. Okay, Nastasha, do you have a word on health?
Yeah, hi, I am Nastasha Freeman. I am a mom and a wife to a naval officer. We lived in AMR in Hawaii from May 21 till February of 22. I talked to Kristina today, and kind of something that I just felt like I needed to talk about and I wanted more people to know about is the long-term effects. I see a lot of posts that say, you know, I have a stomach ache, or, you know, and it's kind of being wrote off as just that, a stomach ache. And I do see people comment, encouraging people to reach out and look, you know, for legal advice. And I think that I'm somebody who is evidence-based, right? Everything I do is very evidence-based. I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I love the science of everything. I love the research behind everything. I, like a lot of you, had normal quotation mark symptoms, right? If you do end up working with Kristina, or if you are, you know that you fill out a form and it says, do you have headaches? Do you have stomach aches? Do you have nosebleeds, right? All of these things, and you're checking yes, but we can also contribute those, right, to other things. And that's where our brain goes, because that's what the doctors are telling us in Hawaii. And so we believe them. That's what they're trained for. And that is far from the truth. I was there, my children were there, we were going to the doctor. I was taking the kids to the hospital. They were in pain and it was being wrote off as a stomach ache, right? Give your kid more fiber. Or they're just constipated, you know, you have a seizure disorder, so it's just that. And there was no labs done. There wasn't one lab done the entire time that we were in Hawaii. And it wasn't until we moved to mainland in February, and it wasn't easy for us, that process. We got here and we were homeless. I have an online practice that was impacted as well. It was just, we were being hit left and right from different things. I landed in the hospital pretty soon after getting here, which was in February, at the Mayo Clinic, the Mayo Hospital. And it was a doctor there that related everything back to jet fuel, everything. And he ran labs, a lot of labs. And it took him to do the labs, you know, 10 minutes, right? And I got all these answers that I hadn't even explored or even thought about before, or a doctor hadn't even mentioned before. And I was a little taken back. I didn't know my liver was impacted. My kidneys were impacted. My brain was impacted. You know, I didn't know any of that. Shortly after that, we ended up purchasing a home and getting our children into medical care as well. The things that they wrote off as stomach aches, right, for my children weren't just stomach aches. They were GI, real issues that they contribute back to jet fuel. Regression in development and withdrawal wasn't just due to our move, you know, in Hawaii, like moving to Hawaii, the adjustment. It was something more severe that requires occupational therapy, behavioral therapy. And those are weekly therapies that are going on. My son's nosebleed, I know y'all have probably heard this over and over already. My son's nosebleed wasn't just a nosebleed. These were bleeds that were happening consistently, long-term, going on a year. And he just had a procedure about a week and a half ago to resolve that issue. And it didn't resolve the issue. He actually is still having nosebleeds. The neurological issues that I was having, that they wrote off as just my pre-existing seizure disorder. Mind you, I hadn't had a seizure in 2.5 years. They were well managed. They kind of just wrote it off. It wasn't that. You know, it's really hard to kind of summarize everything that happened because I've been flown to Walter Reed for care there. And it wasn't actually until I arrived at Walter Reed that what I had been saying all along was like, this just feels like something more, was validated there. And I was diagnosed with a vestibular condition. I was recently diagnosed with hydronephrosis, which is a kidney issue and bladder issue. And so all of these things that started off as back pain, right? And that's what they were saying at Tripler in Hawaii, was it's just back pain. It wasn't just back pain though. I get to the mainland and they actually do testing, and that back pain is more than back pain. It is urine that is going back into my kidneys. It is not coming out like it's supposed to, so it's affecting them. It's causing the right kidney not to work like it's supposed to. The balance issues that I was having, the literally walking into walls, wasn't just my seizure disorder. It wasn't just a medication issue. It was a vestibular dysfunction. The headaches that I were having, right, that they wrote off as headaches. We all have headaches, especially, you know, and I hate to say this because I do feel one of the first things they said was, you know, you could be premenopausal, right? So a headache is common. You're a woman, you know, all those things. But the headache wasn't just a headache. The headache was CSF fluid filling and pushing on my pituitary gland in the brain. So while all these things may seem like normal symptoms that we have all had or experienced at least once in our life, you can see with the proper screening and testing that you can get elsewhere or the right doctors, how it's not just that simple, right? It's very complex. And I see a lot of people not getting legal help right now because it's just a headache. But it's not just a headache. It may be, right? It may be just a headache. But like in a lot of our situations, it's not. It's something way bigger. I'm a year out. I contacted Kristina about a year exactly. And I started with one specialist or one doctor. That was my primary care. That's who I had when I called her. It was one doctor. And right now, I think we've, as a family, and we're a family of 4 that have seen physicians. We've seen approximately 40 specialists on mainland. We went from 1 to 40. And that is because every test that we do get comes back with an additional abnormal lab. And that's for me and my children. So I kind of plead with everybody to go get that headache checked, right? And to talk to Kristina, because in our situation, like we could have never have predicted all of these things. Pain being a big one too. And that's something that I've heard over and over on our support pages is like chronic pain, body pain. My son, who was 12 years old, he was feeling pain, even in Hawaii. And they just said he's growing, right? He's a kid. He's kind of going through that pre-puberty stage. He's just growing. He was diagnosed with AMPS here, which is amplified muscular pain syndrome. His pain receptors are turned on 100% of the time. He's in pain constantly. We found that out because one day he stood up and he couldn't stand. He tried and he cried out in pain. And we ended up taking him to the hospital and he has seen numerous specialists. And so that's his diagnosis as of yet. But even with him, they are still seeking. He just had a bone scan where they're looking for tumors. And they were looking for, you know, various things that can also be causing some of the symptoms that he's having. Weight gain, you know, that was another symptom that I experienced. And I'm somebody who is extremely, every day I needed to get up and run 3 to 4 miles every day in Hawaii. That stopped pretty quickly after getting there. I started gaining weight, kind of contributed to the fact that, man, I'm just really sick and tired and I just can't get on the treadmill anymore. I don't have the genes where I can't work out, you know, so, and that's kind of, you know, again, they said you could be premenopausal, don't worry about it. I get here and I'm diagnosed with subclinical hyperthyroidism, right? So the diagnosis continue. So I just plead with everybody to talk to Kristina, go over the symptoms. If you think that they may be normal, right? A headache or pain or things like that, talk to her because she's seen this. She knows all of our stories. She has information that even the Navy doesn't, right? Even the providers don't because they're not looking for it. But she does know our diagnosis. She knows kind of the information coming in. And one thing I do know is that a lot of ours are very similar, extremely similar. Dr. Zunin kind of touched on this, it affecting the central nervous system. There's kind of 3 of us that I have talked to where a lot of our symptoms are almost identical, and that's children and adults, right? Mandy's there. Some of Mandy's husband's symptoms very similar to my child's symptoms, my son, right? There's a huge age gap there. Same with me and Mandy. Some of our symptoms are very similar, or symptoms of our children. So I just say don't take the small symptoms lightly because they end up being a big diagnosis with lifelong treatment that is needed. So thanks for letting me talk and rant.
Thank you. Thank you. You know what I'm struck by, y'all, is that I'm struck by what the Navy missed. What if the Navy had passed Nastasha the mic last night and heard all of that? I just feel like they're missing, you know, I am honored to carry your stories, to hear your stories. And man, what if they were just listening to you? And they're just, you know, they haven't been since the beginning, and that's just really sad to me. Let's talk about fear. I want to hear from people in the room. What are you worried about?
So I'm worried about my mom. Ever since this whole thing started, she's been having migraines every single day. And it's starting to affect her school. She's triple major straight A student in college. And now and now she's having to miss days because her migraines just get so bad. And I'm really worried about her. And hoping that she's okay. Thank you.
Okay, my name's Lou, and I'm from Scotland, as you can probably tell by my accent. I have 4 boys, and I fear for their future. I have my eldest son, 15, who has had consistently low white blood cell counts for the last 6 months. The doctors are saying that it's not because of strep or the flu or the cold, you know, which are all common things that can lower your white blood cell counts. But now, as of, you know, this week and next week, we have appointments at hematology and oncology to try and find out why consistently for the last 6 months his cell counts have gone down. They've ruled out everything else, and now they're sending us to hematology and oncology. My second son, who's 13, he already has a pre-existing condition, cleidocranial dysplasia, and his condition has got worse since we came to Hawaii. We came to Hawaii in December 2020, and we started off in Kapalina Beach Homes. In December 2020, I could smell the fuel in the water, and we broke our lease and left the following March. Then we went into Navy housing, but because of COVID and PCS and housing lists being so long, they put us in a house that was too small for us, 6 people. And so we stayed there for 4 or 5 months until they could find us a bigger house. And we now live where we live, up in Radford, which is a house that's big enough for us. But both those houses and Kapalina were all contaminated. So my children are being contaminated in 3 places. Also, my kids spent a few months after COVID restrictions were lifted at Iroquois Point Elementary School. And as we all know, I think it's still closed. I don't know. But, you know, they were exposed there. They now go to Pearl Harbor High, which is also on Navy waterlines. And, you know, that is also where they were exposed in the 2021 spill. So my children have had all these exposures all along the Navy waterlines, and I feel that it's just a ticking time bomb. You know, there's statistics that say, you know, 1 in 3 children, you know, die from this or that or whatever. And I have 4 children, and I'm just worried, are my 4 children going to come through this unscathed? How many of them am I going to have to put in the ground? And that is my true fear, is that one of my children are going to, you know, I can't even say it. But this has been a very, very rough time for my family. And I just encourage anyone to try to get as much medical care for your children as possible, whether it's here or on the mainland. I'm actually, another thing, really disgusted to see that the military are still allowing families to come on island. And those families have been told there used to be a water problem. We don't have it anymore. It's fine. And I now know several families around me that have moved in since this happened, whose children are now sick. And so it just seems like one big cycle, you know, of people being sick. I know so many people in one area who are sick. I have never lived anywhere in the world where so many people are around me are sick. And one of the things that I asked the Navy last night for, which my question never got read out, was, you know, all these children on Navy waterlines, they're going to school. They're being exposed there. Then they're being exposed at home. My question was, would the Navy give an act of goodwill and provide bottled water to all children in schools on the Navy waterline until it can be established whether there is actually PFAS in the water? So so that the children are only exposed in one place rather than two. You know, cut down, if there's no solution to the problem.
Not
we
sure, I think
the
they're still there.
water's contaminated,
Well, I'm saying, like, what are we doing?
I don't know.
and we think the water's still contaminated, then it's time to cut the exposure, especially for the children. And that's what I would like to see. I would like to see bottled water in all schools until we can establish whether the water is actually safe. Thank you.
What are you talking about, Lou? All the water's safe. So safe. Were you at the Board of Water Supply yesterday? So safe. The toxicologist, Diana Felton, sorry, Diana Felton, it is safe, safe. No health effects. What are you worried about?
Okay, hi, I'm Laura Mollenberg. Sorry about my voice, but I had chemical burns on my throat. Nothing like having lidocaine stuck on your nose with a camera going through your nose in order to figure that out. What I'm worried about is I have 3 sons, 28, 30, 32. I'm so thankful they're not here with us in Hawaii. Last Christmas was our very first Christmas after 5 years being separated. And it was the worst Christmas ever because we couldn't cook in our homes. I took my kids to a luau the day before Christmas, and none of them are married. None of them, well, one of them has a girlfriend, but like, I even asked my husband, am I gonna be here to see my grandkids someday? All my prescriptions for my thyroid, fibromyalgia, and everything has doubled since I came here to Hawaii. I had endoscopy done in the mainland. I do not trust medical in Hawaii. I don't. I know I have a lot of problems and I'm not going anywhere in my house. I don't think I have left my house to do anything without my husband in over 3 months because I don't want to go anywhere. I really don't want to talk to anybody. I have met a couple of people, but I don't want to talk to people. I'm just thankful my husband just got a job overseas and we're finally leaving this hellhole. Because I'm not just worried, I'm angry. I'm really angry that I have to leave the mainland after being away in Japan for years and being away from my kids, and again, we had to leave to Italy, not too bad, I guess. But when I came to Hawaii, I thought finally I'm back closer to my children, and I'm not. So it's really hard that the Navy had to do this, separate our families all over again.
Thank you. One more. No, we've got a lot more.
Hi, my name is Samantha. I live on AMR. We moved here in January 2021, still currently living in the same house. I'm a mom of 3. I have 2 boys, 12 and 9, and a little girl who just turned 4. Similarly to what Lou said, my children are all diagnosed with a progressive neuromuscular disease from birth. It's been there, but we found out when my boys were around each age 2, and then my daughter is currently going through testing as well. But my fear, because it's what I believe that I have seen since living here, is that their disease is progressing more rapidly than it would have if we would not have been exposed to what we've been exposed to, because they have gotten worse. And honestly, we all thought my daughter was the strongest of the 3 of them, and that maybe she had escaped, the genetic cycle that gave this disease to them. But after being here and being exposed, then the signs finally showed themselves. I also just wanted to say, as far as disruption, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to having your lives turned upside down last year, living out of hotels, spending Christmas away from your Christmas tree. In the grand scheme of things, I guess that's small, but it's still a disruption. It's also a disruption from, when I have to take how many minutes or hours out of my life each day to explain to my 9-year-old that we're not going to die. He asks all the time, are we gonna die? And that's really hard. So that's disruption, everything like Dee was saying earlier, using bottled water for everything, not being able to use the water in your home. That's a disruption. Every task takes more time. Everything is so tedious, and it's mentally and physically exhausting. Yeah, I just, I fear for all of us in this room, and especially all of us that are not in this, all of those that are not in this room. Because I think a lot of people are just so oblivious. And I really hope that everyone here, gets the help that they need to seek out. It's been really hard to seek help. I'm sure all of you can relate to that. We still have not really received care. As someone said, no labs have been done on me or my children, dealing with military medicine. So we are still fighting that battle. But yeah, just wanted to share, let someone else share. Thank you.
Thank you, Sammy. Dr. E said that my clients just want magic tests and are believing medical misinformation. And in a complaint that was brilliant, because I can say that I didn't draft it, the amended complaint today, the introduction said that our clients do not want magic tests. They want basic labs. It's not rocket science. They want basic labs. And there's not medical misinformation. There's Camp Lejeune and all the studies that came from it. So makes me riled up about that. Okay. Candace, next.
I think fear is a good topic here for me because it really defines my last year. I was angry when I stopped using the water and all these things that had going on started getting better. Like I wasn't as tired, and my feet didn't hurt as much, and I could see a little bit better. But since then, it's really been more fear, self-doubt. Like we live on IMR and we never left. Because right after everything happened, my husband deployed and I just couldn't see staying in a hotel with four small children. There's no hotel rooms that fit for, you know, 4 small children and 1 parent. I couldn't see my way out of that. And so we stayed at home. So now I fear, did I make that wrong decision? I think, you know, the bottled water that we use, is this water safe? My children who are small and don't really communicate well, I fear like, what can't they tell me? You know, are things going on with them that they haven't been able to say to me? I fear going to the doctor. I really, really hate confrontation. I really, really don't do well with people pushing back against me. So when I decided, I don't know, it was last February, so I can't remember, January, I went to the ER because I thought, I'm gonna get this documented, whatever was happening to me at that time. And I went there and I told the ER physician, you know, I'm not feeling well and I really think this is due to the water. And he was just like, it's not, leave. I don't want to go to the doctor and have that happen every single time. I was at a physical therapist a couple months ago and I said something about how I was struggling and how I didn't know whether it was connected to the water or not, but just the fact that everybody tells me that it's not is really frustrating. And she said to me, well, it could be. And when one medical professional said to me, it could be, I broke down and I started crying at my physical therapy appointment because one medical professional agreed with me. And it wasn't even that she agreed with me. She didn't deny that it could be the problem. Yeah. And I don't know where else to go with that, but I think fear is where I live right now. And it's really awful. Yeah.
You, my friend, are not alone. You're in a room with all these people who get that.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Bonnie, and it's been really tough, but I know I'm better off than a lot of you, so I'm sorry for that. My partner, he went into the military at 17. He's retired Navy. He's now with another branch, and I'm a civilian, and we weren't getting information. I'm in Mauna Loa Terrace, and so I couldn't get any help. So I went to 2 different doctors. They did nothing. I mean, they took labs, they did things, but nothing helped because I have severe asthma. And the first time in my life, I couldn't control it. And I speak for a living. And at the time, most of my clients were international. So I might start at 9 p.m. I might start at 11 p.m. 3 days later, have to work at 4 a.m. You know, I was constantly switching time zones and I couldn't speak, and I'm on camera and I'm trying not to I'm trying desperately to get breath to speak, and I couldn't even go to the hotels because the internet wasn't strong enough. And I spoke to a third doctor. I said, don't you know anybody? Can you find me anybody? And he referred me to Dr. Shauna Roboto. It was before I knew about the doctor of the call today. She was so compassionate, so good. And through osteopathic manipulations, I can breathe now. And I just want you to know that, like what the doctors say, we should have full service kind of center. It's not just, go in and take this pill. Maybe you need an osteopathic manipulation. Maybe you need chiropractic. You know, maybe you need herbs. Anyway, she's someone who cares if you are struggling. It was Dr. Roboto in Honolulu.
Thank you. You know, I loved going to the Oahu Water Protectors March for the Board of Water Supply this weekend. And we learned about how water is life. I mean, we all know that, right? But we talked about it a lot. And one thing that struck me was that 60% of our body is water. So if the water is toxic, that makes our whole body toxic. When Nastasha was speaking earlier, she really went through every bodily system, right? Heart, GI, I mean, vestibular, neurological, every part of her body, every part of your bodies has been affected. And so you're going to start to see probably symptoms crossing through different parts of the body because the water was everywhere. Okay, one more comment. Oh, so many. Have y'all have both spoken? Yeah, okay. Nope. Have not spoken.
Sorry. Hey, everyone. My name is John. I'm like you. I don't live on the Navy base. I work there, civilian. Been there since 2009. This Red Hill thing is not anything new. One of my wife's coworkers, she's been out here her whole life, and they were protesting this like 10 years ago or more. I didn't know the extent of it until I started working in, drinking water. We do like barracks bashes and stuff for the active duty military and stuff. And yeah, we see this stuff in the water. And of course, that they put out a memo. Oh, the water's fine, nothing, no problem. Throughout the year, it's almost like I had the same symptoms as a lot of you folks. And so, me being oblivious to it up until the point where it's like, hey, yeah, don't drink the water, but here we're cooking with it. And of course, who's to say if they're really telling the truth, whether or not they did change to a different water line. But there's a lot of fears, just even, continuing my career here, raising a family. Who knows if the aquifer is even worse, down the line. So those are my worries.
I'm worried about the aquifer too.
Hi, my name's Belle. We live on Ford Island. We moved here last year, April of 2021. We stayed at the Navy Lodge. I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. I'm retired Navy. My husband's active duty officer, Navy. The whole time we were in the Navy Lodge, I thought I was going through menopause because I was sweating and I just had that weird feeling. I would sweat, I was sick, I was bloating, I had all these crazy symptoms. And then my son, who's 6, he had eczema, but we had to start washing our own sheets at the Navy Lodge. We wouldn't let them come into our hotel room because we were like, we don't know what they're washing the sheets with, and his skin is super sensitive. And so, however, it continued when we moved into our home, May of 2021 in Fort Island. We got really sick, so bad so that I ended up having a hysterectomy November 19, 2021, because they thought I was full on like, okay, we need to get rid of all your stuff and that'll make you feel better. You'll be fine. So we made the tough decision to have a hysterectomy. Little did we know, like, it wasn't that, so that changed our life and our family's goals. And then, I pleaded. My husband and I lived here from 2005 to 2012. And the only reason why we came back is because we wanted to share Hawaii with our children and how beautiful it was and the majesticness of the water and the ocean and just the people. And we love the people still, and we love the ocean. I hate my former employer and my husband's employer. My son's autistic. He has ADHD and Asperger's. And for him, we thought he was going through the changes of moving from San Diego to Hawaii. However, we are still dealing with them today. My 4-year-old daughter at school, I remember her teacher telling me, you know, your daughter's privates are red. Are you washing her? And I felt embarrassed. And I said, excuse me? And she said, I think your daughter might have ringworms. And we were like, why would you think that? Why would you say that? Because she couldn't explain to us that when she was urinating, it was burning. And she had rashes and burns and things like that. And so someone so little and so young, like how do you even, you know, talk to your children about it's the water, it's not you. We're trying to make you as healthy as possible. But my fear that I have right now is we finally were able to get orders to leave the island to San Diego, and we're leaving next month. However, somebody posted on a link for me saying that in the San Diego News that the Navy's jet fuel line in the neighborhood that we're moving into is going to be uprooted. It's like Claremont, Pacific Beach, Mission Beach area of San Diego. There's a line that goes from Point Loma all the way out to Claremont somewhere. And that was the neighborhood that we were looking into because my son played soccer there prior and we love the team. And so I'm scared now that I'm going to have to deal with the Navy's fuel lines disrupting other people, you know, like there's a line under there. How do we know it's not leaking? You know, they said they built on top of the property. And so they don't even know what the lines look like. They don't know if they're, you know, leaking fuel or whatever the case may be. I am terrified now to have to go to another location that is potentially affected by the Navy's jet fuel lines, you know? It's just wrong, you know, I'm terrified. So much of what has been said, I resonate with the fears and the health concerns, being a mom and what I've accidentally exposed my kids to and the guilt that I experience with that, just so much. But one thing that I feel that's a fear that I also am like, God, that's so irrational. Why am I afraid of that? My husband and I have talked about, well, should we try moving? Because he just got his, he just found out that he's been extended to stay here for 3 more years. And we're still in the same house that we were exposed to the contaminant in. And so he's like, well, should we move? Because out of all of us in the house, I probably have the most symptoms today. And as my daughter said, like migraines are one of the most frequent things that are bothering me. And even today we talked about, well, should we try to move? I'm like, well, here's the thing. If we move, they're just going to put somebody new in this house. And our house has 4 bedrooms. So who are they going to move in here? They're going to move somebody in with a bunch of kids. And so far, any neighbors that we've gotten in the past 1 year, they don't tell them what happened here. Everybody who's moved in doesn't know. Why do I feel responsible for somebody I don't know yet? I already know not to rinse my rice with the sink water. I already know not to wash my zucchini unless I have that bottle of water with me. Like, I already know that stuff. I already know to tell her to limit her baths to so much time if she's going to take a long bath, you know, or like, we already know how to do this life. We already know what to be afraid of. And we already know to believe to be afraid of it. If I move, I feel responsible for that family that they're going to move in because I know it's going to be a family. And with 4 bedrooms and 2 baths, I know it's going to be a young family. And I feel responsible for that. Why doesn't the Navy feel responsible for that?
I can answer that. Because they're not listening to you. I don't think they're listening. I don't think that they're even listening. I don't think that they're even listening. So I want to talk now about how to bring a claim and why to bring a claim. Is it greedy to bring a claim? So, you know, early on when I came over here in my cowboy boots, there were a lot of allegations of that. There are people who are Karens or they're looking for money. I want to tell you that the Federal Tort Claims Act is beautiful. I used to represent the United States in these claims. It's a beautiful thing. The government has waived its immunity to allow people who are harmed by the negligence of the United States to bring a claim against the United States for the harm. This case is what that act is designed for. Now, usually it's used for car accidents. I defended a lot of car accidents, which are kind of boring, by the way, in comparison to this case. But in a car accident, if you were on a Navy base and you were hit really hard and you had a newborn in the car, of course you would bring a claim against the Army, right? Of course you would, because that's your right. And that's the same thing here. This is your right to bring a claim against the United States. I believe it's patriotic. Jim and I love this country. We used to both be, he actually is currently a federal officer. It was the greatest honor of my life to say I represent the United States. Until today, I was on a call and I was representing all of you. And I didn't say Kristina Bear for the United States. I almost forgot, did. And then I was like, you know what? I really love that I'm on this side. It's a joy. So how do you bring a claim? It's not hard. We send you a survey, you fill it out. We ask basic information. And then we do an interview with you and we talk about, you know, what was your unique experience? We put that together in something called an SF-95, which is notice to the government of your claim. They have to have it for 6 months, and then we can add you to the federal lawsuit that is already on file. We have 100 plaintiffs who are already on file, and as people make their way through the administrative process, we will add more and more. How much does this cost? Amazingly, it's free until we prevail. And then it's 25% of whatever the total recovery is, plus costs, which are what we spend on experts and things like that. So I'm going to be here all night to answer all of your questions. You know, one of the reasons we do this is to talk about the claims, but really we do it so that you can meet each other, so that you can know that you're not alone, so that you can tell your stories, because I love this country and I'm really sorry that the country's not listening to you right now. The government is not listening to you right now, and they should be. So we give you the opportunity that the Navy last night didn't. And I just wish that they were listening too. But until then, we will be your ears and we will be your voice, and we will stand up and we'll leave it all in the field. In the beginning, I couldn't say whether we were going to prevail or not. I had no idea. Like when Jamie first called, I was like, Jamie, no clue. This is kind of hard. It was an uphill battle. It is less and less of an uphill battle because we have already prevailed at the first step, which is a motion to dismiss. The government, if I had been on their side, would have filed a complete motion to dismiss the case. But instead, this government filed a motion to dismiss that said in the opening paragraph, the government acknowledges that it has poisoned the United States people. It said basically that there were 2 spills and that the government acknowledges that it has impacted the communities. And the government is committed to resolving these claims. And I was heartened by that. It went on to talk about very limited claims, but I was really heartened by their response, because what Jim and I have always said is we are giving the United States an opportunity to make it right. So, you know, they might not be listening. Wade might not be listening to you, but I do believe that DOJ is. And we are offering the United States of America and the Department of Justice an opportunity to make it right. for your families. There's no amount of money that's ever going to make this better. But we hope that compensation at least is one way for the government to have accountability and truth. And if the number is big enough, to encourage them to never, ever, ever do this again. And we're just going to keep standing up and doing that. So I want to take a minute and thank the people who are here. Spencer was Master DJ. He got here early. He made sure that we could do this crazy format of being in a circle and also on Zoom at the same time. And Debbie managed to get the food together and just make this all orchestrated. And then Lyle is our rock, and he is all the things. And he is really our host. So I'm going to turn it over to him. It's like, shut up, Kristina.
How about a big hand for Kristina? Thank you all for coming this evening, for opening your hearts and sharing. To render yourself vulnerable like that speaks volumes about your courage. I said as local counsel, presence makes a difference. You're known as the mainland lawyers, but do you show up? Kristina, Jim, Aaron, thank you from your team for all your presence and being here. It means you care, and we get that. Mark Lanier, Davis, Chris, thank you for coming. We're not just team members anymore. We're friends and much more. So thank you so much for your presence and for you caring and standing up. She started to thank my team, and I wanted to grab the mic because that's why I did it. So I took the mic because I wanted to tell you that actions always speak louder than words. Always, right? So do we care? It's an honor and a privilege to represent each and every one of you. How much do we care? Our team never slept for a week and a half because we were in trial representing other people that we stand up for. To this morning, we're representing others during the day, but Spencer, Debbie, and Courtney, who are with our team, were in the office by 7 a.m. and worked all day. Now, the second that there's a sound glitch, you can't hear me, you can't see somebody out. Spencer is a graduate of a prestigious law firm and came to us to be a trial lawyer. He is not a sound engineer. So every time we look at him and we go, hey, the mic's not working, brother. That's not what he studied. But his boss told him tonight he's going to be a sound engineer. Debbie is a paralegal. She went to school. She is not in the hospitality. I'm going to feed people. I'm going to get people. I'm going to organize and find the rent people type of person. She made this all happen. And this is the 4th or 5th go round. And every time there's food and every time there's drinks and the lights are on, the speakers are working, and her husband's sound system came with it. And there's one other individual, there's another associate that has worked around the clock all day, every day. But when I say, and I stand up for you in front of the Board of Water Supply with people that I have lived with since kindergarten, and I just say, I stand for you and I stand with you. I may be short on words and height. Jeez, nobody laughed. Nobody's listening. Okay, go home then. No. I may be short on words, but in this town, in this community, connections and who you know, what networks make a difference. And so if I say I stand for you and with you, not only do I mean it, but I care just as much as each and every one of this legal team, and we believe in you. And we thank you for all that you've done to stand up. And we do stand for you and with you. Again, there's food for you this evening. Please stay and enjoy. And like Kristina said, very important to hear and feel each other, because we'll get through this together. We have much more work to do. So thank you again for coming. Did you say you wanted to get engaged? I'm married, Kristina. An engagement and agreement is when you sign up with a law firm. And that's when you say, please represent us. And we say, yes, we will represent you. We have those agreements out for you if you have not already signed up with us. But again, it would be our honor and privilege to represent you. If you don't have that form or you need any explanation on it, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lawyers in the house, and any one of us can explain it to you better than he can handle the volume or the mute. But ask me to operate any one of those and there would be no technology. Again, thank you. But thank you for coming. If you have any questions, we'll be around. And when Kristina says she's going to be here until the last person leaves, She's not joking. She will hear every last word that you have to say, and I really appreciate it. So thank you again for coming.
How about it?
Miss Asha.
Hi, Mandy. Hi, Dee.
Oh, there I am. I can get off mute now.
Get in here. Oh, nope, fail. I'm also in the no technology club.
Hi. That's so funny. I'll see y'all later. Bye.
All right, digital crew, it is midnight here, Central Time Zone in Texas. For those not in Hawaii, thanks for staying up late for us and with us. Thanks for being part of this. It is quite a mission. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you at the next one.
Bye.